Warning, the views and opinions expressed in this presentation are those of the producer and those appearing in the show and do not necessarily represent the views of DerryCam, the town of Derry, or any of its staff or affiliates. Hi, I'm Anthony Henry. Welcome back to America's Ass. We're on episode 38. We're getting some good weather, and this is going to be an exciting show today. I got a lot to talk about between my topics and Mr. Mayberry's topics. Speaking of Mr. Mayberry, he's our guest today. So please take a minute to introduce yourself.
Hi, Anthony. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Your show is great. Looking forward to being on here. My name is Matt Mayberry. I live in Dover, and I'm the Executive Vice President of the New Hampshire Home Builders Association, and I served on a city council. I served on a school board, so we're going to have a lot to talk about.
We are, and we'll start with some local stuff to Derry. I've been talking about this godforsaken election since December. It has been the biggest topic in my political sphere for a long time. And the election was yesterday. I was very nervous. We had no school because Pinkerton was the polling location, so I helped out with some signs and stuff. Really good day. I was still nervous. I stayed up till 1 a.m. waiting for the results, and we absolutely crushed it. I have never been more proud to be involved in Derry politics than I am today after the election. I'll read the results. So, Town Councilor at Large, former guest of the show, Jack Webb, received 1,870 votes, and his opponent, Tom Carden, received 896 votes. That's over 68% of the vote. Town Moderator Dave Nelson, another former guest of the show, received 1,624 votes. His opponent, Jim Marshall, 1,051 votes. Councilor Aaron Spencer and Lorraine Lindenberg, Lorraine's ran for Derry Public Library trustee. They both won their unopposed elections. And on the school board, we fended off that feisty write-in campaign. Katie DeLay got 1,984 votes. Wilbert Danger received 1,475 votes. We crushed it with our candidates. And we crushed it even more with the warrant articles, which were the big topics. The renovations warrant article, it failed. 1,636 yes, 1,496 no. It did receive a majority, but not the 60% required to pass. So that happened. Article 3, which was the biggest one, that was the new school. That was the $72 million new school that would have raised your taxes exorbitantly. It failed. 661 yes, 2,474 no. We crushed them. Warrant Article 4, the district budget, the school district budget, failed. 1,267 yes, 1,820 no. And Warrant Article 7, which was the Save Our Schools warrant article, it would have reopened Derry Village, undid all of the restructuring that the school board voted on last year. It passed. 1,897 yes, 1,174 no. Yeah, I have been over the moon for the whole day. We crushed it. Every sense of the word. I don't even know what to say. We killed it. We showed the school board that we've had enough of the disrespect that they've shown to the taxpayers. And even at the last meeting, which was on Monday of this week, the Derry Teachers Union came and spoke, and they had been denied access to the agenda. The Teachers Union, they wouldn't let the Teachers Union do a thing on the agenda. So the Teachers Union spoke during public comment and basically said that the teachers were not properly consulted on all their plans, which is completely wrong. Mr. Mayberry, I know you might not be as well versed in all this as I am for Derry, but basic thoughts, anything.
Yeah. First of all, please call me Matt. It'll be Matt. A lot easier.
All right, Matt.
And I served on the Dover City Council for 3 terms. I served on the Dover School Board, so I've stood for the election. I ran for U.S. Congress. I think one thing we should say is that, thank you to those who put their name on the ballot.
I agree.
It's hard.
Yeah.
You get judged, you get opinions, you get a lot of people, thrust at you, and it takes a lot to step forward and say, I'm willing to serve. So anyone who's willing to serve their community, that means they love their community. You may have a policy dispute, but you should never have a personal dispute. So, congratulations to all the candidates who ran. They set forward their ideas, but that's what democracy is about. That, you set forward ideas and ideals, and then the voters decide what they want to do for a path. Certainly, they have strong advocates like yourself, but there's some on the other sides also. So I think, the election's over. Now it's time to govern. And so voices like yours, Anthony, will play a big role in charting the course of where dairy and the Dover and the dairy education system goes. There's a lot of things out there, such as, banned books. The role of parents in education, where does that go? So, you're going to have a busy year, you're going to have a fun year, and I'm looking forward to when you put your name on the ballot and stand for election.
Well, we'll see about that. If I did, that wouldn't be until 2026 when I'm 18, but I'll think about it. And as for what you said, I completely agree. The new school board, the two new members, Katie and Wilbert, they'll be sworn in pretty soon. The next meeting will be March 26th in this building, Town Hall. We're going to select a new chair of the board. The current chair, John Dugan, is stepping down as chair. Not from the board, he's still on the board, but he's stepping down as chair. The presumptive new chair, I'd assume, would be Vice Chairman Clapp. And like you said, it's a new year now. We gotta start governing, and this school board needs to remember that their boss are the ones sitting in front of them at the meetings, the voters, the citizens of Derry. And now that the election's over, we all have to come together and actually start doing some stuff. And I think goal number one should be getting a repairs warrant article that will pass next year that everyone can agree on, so that the same schools that they tried to close because they claimed were in too much disarray, we can actually renovate them with both sides agreeing on the funding and not raising taxes as much as they tried to do this year.
Absolutely, and it's citizens' participation. Clearly, that warrant article, when it fails 3-1, that's a strong statement. And let's see where it goes from here.
And the last thing I'll talk about for the school board, warrant article 7 was the most interesting one because it was a citizen's petition. The school board had nothing to do with the writing of it. In fact, it was non-binding. I'm sure you know what that means.
Yes.
It means technically the school board doesn't have to listen to it. However, it's still passed 1,800 to 1,100. I don't the exact numbers here, but I'm not going to open it again.
But what was warrant article 7 about, though?
It was to reopen Derry Village, which they voted to close at the end of this school year, and to undo the grade restructuring. So next year, assuming they still get everything they want for next year, our elementary schools will become K through 4, and our 2 middle schools, which currently are 6, 7, 8, one of them will become 5 and 6, the other 7 and 8.
Wow.
So what this citizens petition warrant article would do, it would reopen Derry Village, and it would undo the restructuring that the school board voted on. But it's non-binding, and technically the school board doesn't have to listen to it. However, it was still a pretty good majority of voters that voted on it, so it's up to this new board to decide what they do with it.
And and yourself and others and the taxpayers and programs like this will keep them accountable.
Yeah.
You're going to keep talking about it. You can keep educating them to move us forward. So, thank you to everyone who came out.
Yep.
When I was, you're the ripe old age of 16. When I was 18, which feels like 5 millennia ago, I lost the student body presidency vote by 1 vote. So literally every single vote counts.
Yeah.
So for those who turned out to vote, thank you. There's a lot going on and lives are busy. So, those thousands of people who showed up, thank you.
And I will point out that we had about 3 times as many people vote this year than last year.
They were engaged.
Yeah. People come out in larger numbers when, frankly, it's time to wake up. And I think having their taxes raised by $700 a year for the next 5 years, like this, 15 years, like the school board wanted, I think that woke people up. That, you know, we all need to go out and vote and get rid of some of these people and some of their ideas. But anyway,
It's inflation.
it is. Yeah. And that's a good segue to your topic, housing. So I'll be honest, I'm not very knowledgeable about housing. So start anywhere you want.
Absolutely. Because the same taxpayers who showed up yesterday to vote are dealing with housing issues. In Derry, again, I'm the executive vice president of the New Hampshire Home Builders Association. We have about 500 members, and we represent just shy of 25,000 people in the state of New Hampshire who work in the residential building trades. And that's roofers and electricians and plumbers and landscapers and septic designers and the folks in construction. But in Derry, the median price of a home is $458,000. Anthony, that's up. That's of January 2024, was 458. That's up 27.1% from last year, the value of your home.
Yeah.
So we'll say for easy numbers, 120 grand. So that means their taxes went up in proportion to their assessment. So not only did their tax rate go up, but their assessment went up in the value. So they're paying a lot of taxes. And what's happening is that people can't afford to live in town. They're still living with their parents. They're trying to get auxiliary dwelling units, ADUs, put in for typically known as an in-law apartment. But housing is becoming more and more expensive. And one of the reasons why I wanted to reach out to you was there's a movement in the legislature right now. It's a national movement, but also in our state legislature, of instituting the 2021 Energy Code. There are building codes that you have to build a home to, and there's energy code of how your home should perform energy-wise. Right now, we're operating on the 2018 energy codes. Those are good. Those are a big jump. They help on our carbon footprint. It helps with energy efficiency. It helps pull some people off of fossil fuels. But what happens is when the 2021 energy code, should that get passed by the state legislature and signed into law by the governor, that will increase the base price of a home anywhere between $18,000 and $30,000.
It's a lot of money.
So if the average home in Derry is $458, tack on another 30 grand. It's now $488. And our friends on the green left are saying, but you're going to get your money back. Of course. Anthony, take a wild guess as to how much it would cost you to get your money back in energy savings if you upgrade your insulation. Wild guess.
10,000.
Not even close. It'll take you 67 years on your ROI, your return on investment, from what you paid up front to increase your insulation to when you get the energy savings back to you. There's a movement, it's called Appendix A, which would say that if a municipality or a state passes the 2021 Energy Code, then they could also adopt, and this is kind of a little backdoor deal, they didn't even dare put in the main language, Appendix A, that would make all homes net zero. That means they create as much energy as they use within a year of passage.
Interesting.
So if you're in a new home, you're going to get those electric solar panels. You're going to be doing a whole lot of things on your home that don't pay you back for your generation. We think that's wrong. We think options should be optional, not mandated. When you start, before you even turn a shovel full of dirt, you're already 30 grand in the hole. That's a bad place to start, because at 30 grand, you're going to roll that into your mortgage, and mortgage interest rates right now are about 7.25%. over the life of a 30-year loan, that $30,000 upgrade is going to cost you $97,000 at the end of it. So when we want to help out small businesses, when we want to support, the businesses here in Derry, you're taking $100,000 per home. Now, to extrapolate that out to the state, and I know I'm taking your viewers into the weeds, but it's important. So when you take out that money, you then multiply that by the 5,000 building permits that were issued last year in 2023. That's millions upon millions of dollars that are not in the family pocket, they're in the government mandates. My home builders, we do an amazing job. We work really hard every single day. And when a customer comes in and says, I want to do a net zero home, I want to have solar arrays, I want to have geothermal heating, great, we'll do it. But Anthony, it should be up to that consumer to decide what they want. When you and your friends, get of age, when you're buying a home, you're going to get the most home you can and what you can afford. And maybe you can't make those upgrades, but it gets you out of your parents' home. It gets you on your own. That's what we want. That's the American dream.
Yeah.
Mandated federal expenditures towards energy efficiency are not the way to go. I'm not a big federal mandate guy to begin with. Your parents know what's best. Your viewers know what's best for them.
Yeah.
And so, those are some of the things that we're working on. And I would encourage them, contact the New Hampshire Home Builders Association. Ask us. We'll send you the data. We don't have it on our website yet, but we will. Because our 25,000 members, we contribute $3.5 billion into the New Hampshire economy. So when people say, oh, they just built homes. No, we create it because housing, as you know, is the second largest issue behind substance abuse disorder in the state of New Hampshire.
It's a big problem, especially in the cities like Manchester.
I'm going to disagree with you. It's actually prevalent on per capita at small towns. Derry has an issue. Londonderry has an issue. Raymond has an issue. You just see it because it's in Nashua and in Manchester, and it's publicized. When you look at those who are having the substance abuse disorder, proportionally, small rural towns, there's a little bit less opportunity. And so housing in those towns are even worse. We have right now, there's a great study that was done by the Josiah Bartlett Center. And they looked at New Hampshire and our economic development model. And Anthony, did you know there are towns that, like Hanover, for instance, they have a 5-acre minimum to place a single-family home. Most homes are like on quarter-acre lots. Because they're saying, we don't want you. If you're not making X number of dollars, we really don't want you. Go somewhere else. And the part that, I'm going to bang on our friends in Durham and Portsmouth and Hanover and Keene, and they all want affordable housing. They all want workforce housing, but they want someone else to take it. They want someone else to do it. They don't want it in their backyard. They're like, oh, here in Derry, we don't need that. Let them go to Raymond. Let them go to Chester. Let them go to Auburn, somewhere other. We have to be really careful because that's affecting not only our long-term economic development, but our future economic development because of, when companies look to move to New Hampshire, the second question they ask is, who's going to come work at my factory? Who's going to come work on medical devices, medical research? And if they can't find housing that they can afford, why come? So, it's one of those things that, we're talking about, we'll continue to talk about. Ask your state representatives, ask your state senator. Senator Regina Birdsell does an amazing job for you here in Derry. She's a big housing advocate, but she listens and she finds that balance. And so for all those voters who came out and voted yesterday, engage in the energy codes. Pro or con, have your voice heard. Tell your representatives, this is what we want, or that these energy upgrades should be an option, not mandatory.
And that was a lot.
It's a lot.
It is, but I think it was really important that you said all that, because I haven't seen that in a lot of mainstreams. It's something that's not really talked about a lot, but I think it should be.
It's generational importance. And
Yeah.
that's why when I saw, in Darien and Concord, when I saw your show and who you had for guests and what you were doing, like, I need to reach out to this man and get on your show to talk to the folks in Darien. Y'all are engaged. And this is something that's going to cost millions upon millions of dollars. And don't forget, it's not just new homes, but if you renovate a home and the value of that renovation is 51% of your total assessment, then you have to bring the entire home up to those 2021 energy codes. So you just took an example in Dover. His home was valued at $400,000 from when he bought it, and it's assessed at $400,000. He's doing a $300,000 addition because inflation, cost, demand. It's a lot more expensive than it was 10 years ago. So under the 2021 Energy Code, he would have to renovate his entire home, which would add another $100,000 onto it. So now he's doing a $400,000 renovation on his $400,000 house. And what he told me was that he and his wife would have opted not to.
Yeah.
That they could barely afford the $350 addition, let alone a $450 total house renovation. So it hits everyone.
One question I will ask, and it's one that's kind of Derry specific, but I feel like it can apply to many other towns and cities. Derry is going to be having a lot of development over the next few years. Just a few streets over at Abbott Court, we're going to have a lot of apartments being put there. On Rockingham Road at the corner of Rockingham and Bedard, we're supposed to, I believe the developer might have fallen through or something, but that was going to be, about 100 apartments there plus a restaurant. So where would you say, like, developments such as apartments and condos, where would that fall into all this?
It should go, well, first of all, if you have to build it to the 2021 Energy Code, the developer is going to take all that cost and it's going to be reflected in your rent. So now what we're trying to strive for with the New Hampshire Home Builders Association is attainable, ATT, not necessarily affordable, AFF, but ATT, because right now your teachers that you spoke of earlier, they can't really live in town. Members of law enforcement can't live in town. Nurses can't live here. Firefighters, hard to live here. When the average median is, $450,000 for a basic home, you've got to be making your household about $160,000 a year. So you can only hope there's two incomes at 80 grand each to participate. Teachers aren't making that. First year cops and firefighters are not making that. So you're driving them out of town. So when we look at getting attainable housing in those apartments, it's a start. But we can't make the rent so high that you can't afford a down payment. Because what you're going to do is you're going to lock them into zero equity. They're not going to be able to get that yard and that fence and that dog and those couple of kids that they want. They're putting their American dream on hold just to pay the rent. I am against rent control. I'm against, rental subsidies. But there are men and women and families in the state of New Hampshire that need help. So there are vouchers through New Hampshire Housing Finance Authority to help subsidize that rent so you could afford to stay there. But rank and file teachers, cops, firefighters, nurses can't afford to buy a home.
And those are the people that make the bedrock of our community.
They're the ones you want.
Yeah.
Because, you want to see them in the grocery store. You want to see them in the fast food lines, but in the restaurants. But if they can't afford to be here, they're going to go somewhere else. And that hurts your small businesses like Marianne's.
Yeah. And it goes hand in hand with our first topic, without election. That if that school board got what they wanted, that would have been even more they would have had to pay.
Even more.
Yeah. And taxes have a big impact on housing as well.
Yeah. And for those who, I'm going to take a little harsh line because I've seen my name on that ballot before. If you don't vote, you don't count.
Yeah, I agree.
So, don't complain about the election if you did nothing about it.
People were posting that today. Yeah. If you don't agree with what happened in the election, you shouldn't complain.
Correct.
Because you didn't vote.
Because you didn't vote.
So we are just about out of time, so feel free to wrap up any closing statements you'd like to make.
I want to thank you for the opportunity to be here. It's important.
Thank you for coming on.
Absolutely. Derry's a great town. It's a high voter participation, and the energy codes are coming. So talk to your state reps, talk to Senator Birdsell, and just say 2018 is fine. Do no harm.
Well, like I said, thank you for coming on. Yeah, it's very gratifying to finally wrap up that talk about that election. It was very stressful, but as we said earlier, now it's time to move forward. We're going to have a new school board sitting in 2 weeks with 2 new members, 2 members that are pro-dairy schools, pro-fiscal responsibility, pro-renovation, and they're both highly qualified. Katie DeLay is a mother of 3. She's been to every school board meeting for the past 1 or 2 years. She's spoken at almost all of them. She's crushed the board at every meeting during public forum. It's awesome to see her talk. And I was very glad when she stepped up. Wilbert, that was a cool one because I actually convinced him to run. I met him and realized he would be good. This is a man that immigrated to America from Haiti, lived the American dream, as you were talking about. And he works for several nonprofits that help kids with educational and leadership skills. And he is about to get his doctorate in education himself. So we have 2 amazing people that Derry elected to our school board. Derry should be proud of the election that we just had. And I'm thankful to live here. I wish I could have voted myself, but I got 2 years. Thank you, Derry. You made the right choices. Start paying attention more, whether it be local stuff, state stuff, stuff you may not even think of paying attention to, like housing. All this stuff is important. All you have to do is pay attention and talk to people, and you're going to find you know what's going on a lot more. That's about it. I'll see you guys next week. I'm Anthony Henry. This has been America's Ass. Thank you for watching.